Here's something that's going to completely shift your perspective on physical contact. Every time a woman hugs you, there's an entire silent conversation taking place, and 99% of guys are completely oblivious to it. You feel the embrace, maybe you register whether it's brief or extended, and then you move on with your day. But what if I told you that the most crucial information isn't in the hug itself? It's in the subtle details that surround it, the moment leading up to it, what happens during, and especially what occurs immediately after. I'm going to decode exactly what's happening, and once you understand these psychological patterns, you'll never interpret a hug the same way again. Picture this: you're mid-conversation, and you can both sense that a hug is coming. But right before she steps into your space, she does something interesting. She straightens your collar, brushes an invisible speck off your shoulder, or adjusts how your shirt sits. Now, most guys interpret this as helpful behavior, maybe even motherly. They don't give it a second thought, but here's what's actually going on beneath the surface. She's establishing physical contact before the main event. She's warming up the connection so that the embrace doesn't feel like such an abrupt transition. In essence, she's saying, I want my hands on you, and I need a socially acceptable way to make it happen. If she reaches toward you with some minor adjustment right before pulling you close, understand this. She's been anticipating this hug far longer than you realize. That tiny gesture? That's her mental preparation becoming physical action. This detail is incredibly subtle, and you'll need to actively listen to catch it. The hug happens, you both step back, and then she speaks. But pay close attention here. The voice that emerges isn't quite identical to the one she was using moments before. It's slightly softer, a bit lower in pitch, maybe even a touch breathier. The tone has shifted. Most men focus exclusively on what she's saying and completely miss how she's saying it. When a woman's vocal quality changes following physical contact with you, it's because her nervous system just responded to something significant. That embrace affected her on a physiological level. Her body released certain chemicals, and now her vocal cords are carrying the evidence of that internal shift. She might not even consciously realize it's happening. But if you genuinely listen, and I mean really tune into the texture of her voice in those initial seconds after separation, you'll hear whether that hug landed somewhere deeper than just friendly territory. A woman whose voice remains completely unchanged was simply present for the hug. A woman whose voice shifts was genuinely moved by it. And that distinction reveals everything she's not verbalizing. If you're finding this information valuable so far, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Most guys will never pay attention to these details, which is exactly why you're going to stand out. Let's keep going. You mention a minor achievement at work, nothing groundbreaking, just a project completion or a small promotion. Suddenly, she's embracing you. You casually note that your favorite sports team won last night. She hugs you. You comment that your coffee order actually came out correctly for once. She laughs and then initiates a hug. Here's the key insight most men overlook. The situation didn't actually warrant that level of physical response. She's aware of this. You should be too. When a woman creates a reason to embrace you, she's not genuinely celebrating the event she claims to be celebrating. She's using it as a gateway. The actual desire was already present, sitting in her mind, just waiting for any reasonable excuse to translate into action. She needed permission, from herself, from social convention, to eliminate that physical distance between you. So she engineered it. If a woman hugs you for reasons that seem slightly excessive compared to the situation, she's not being overly dramatic. She's being intentional. And that intention is simple. Get physically closer to you without having to explicitly explain why. Not every hand placement communicates the same message. When a woman hugs you and her hands settle high on your back, near your shoulder region, she's maintaining boundaries, keeping things comfortable, controlled, platonic. But when her hands land significantly lower, settling into your mid-back or just below your shoulder blades, she's communicating something entirely different. That placement indicates she's actively pulling you inward. She's not merely accepting the hug, she's anchoring it. She wants to feel your body against hers, and her hands are doing the work to ensure that full contact happens. Pay specific attention to whether her palms rest flat and relaxed, or whether you can feel her fingers pressing in with slight pressure. Relaxed hands communicate, "This is pleasant." Pressing fingers communicate, "I don't want this moment to end." Most guys experience the hug as one unified sensation. But her hands have their own distinct language. And if they've positioned themselves somewhere deliberate, somewhere that draws you closer rather than simply resting on your back, she's already revealing what she wants. You just need to understand how to interpret it. The embrace concludes. You create space between you, and before any silence can develop, she poses a question. It could be completely random. Are you hungry? Or what time is it? Or did you have to park far away? The specific question is almost irrelevant. What matters is the fact that she asked anything at all. Most men respond to the question directly and continue forward. They don't recognize what just occurred. She wasn't seeking information. She was extending the moment. The hug created a bubble of intimacy, and when it ended, she felt that disconnection. The question serves as her bridge, her method of maintaining proximity for a few additional seconds without being obvious about it. If a woman hugs you and then immediately provides you with a reason to continue engaging with her, she's not just making conversation. She's being strategic. She experienced something meaningful, and she's not prepared to let that moment dissolve into nothing. That question is her way of asking you to stay without directly asking you to stay. Listen, if you're someone who actually pays attention to details that most guys completely miss, drop the word aware in the comments so I know who's genuinely here to understand this on a deeper level. And make sure you're subscribed because we're just getting started. You're in the middle of a sentence, or she is. Perhaps you just mentioned something completely unrelated to anything emotional, and suddenly she's moving towards you with open arms. The timing doesn't align logically. The conversation wasn't building toward this moment. There was no farewell happening, no celebration occurring, no apparent trigger, and that's precisely the revealing part. When a hug materializes at an unexpected moment, it's because she couldn't contain the impulse any longer. Something inside her reached a tipping point, and she stopped waiting for the appropriate time because she realized one wasn't going to naturally present itself. This represents one of the clearest indicators that a hug carries deeper meaning than it appears. A socially conventional hug occurs at socially conventional moments. A hug that interrupts the natural flow of interaction, that one emerged from somewhere she wasn't planning to show you. If you find yourself thinking, that was strange timing, don't dismiss that observation. That timing was the signal. During typical hugs, faces angle outward. It's automatic human behavior. You embrace, your cheeks might briefly touch, and then both heads naturally turn away from each other. Neutral. Safe. Standard protocol. But sometimes she doesn't turn away. She turns inward. Her face angles toward your neck. You might feel her nose brush against your collar, or notice her breath landing somewhere unexpected. Most men register this purely as physical sensation and nothing more. But what's actually occurring carries significant meaning. She's orienting herself toward you. She's selecting closeness when distance was the available option. Turning your face toward someone's neck during an embrace is simultaneously an act of trust and desire. She's allowing herself to exist fully in your space, to breathe you in, to remain a fraction longer in a position that communicates, I don't want the safe, formal version of this interaction. If her face turns toward you rather than away, she's already operating at a level of closeness you might not have recognized. This one requires stillness to detect. But once you experience it, you'll recognize it every time afterward. You're holding each other, and somewhere in the middle of the embrace, your breathing aligns. Her inhale follows yours. Her exhale lands precisely where yours does. You're suddenly breathing as a unified organism instead of two separate individuals. This isn't conscious behavior. It's physiological. When a woman's nervous system feels both safe and attracted to you, her body begins mirroring yours automatically. Breath synchronization is one of the first biological responses to occur. It's primal. If you're in an embrace and you notice your rhythms have merged, slow down. Remain present in that space for an extra beat. Because what's happening in that moment is her body communicating yes to yours in a language that predates verbal communication. Most men rush through hugs. They squeeze and release mechanically. But if you stay present enough to feel her breathing match yours, you've just received information she doesn't even consciously know she's transmitting. Hours pass, maybe an entire day. You're texting or discussing something completely unrelated, and she brings it up. That hug earlier was really nice. Or she teases you about it, or she references it indirectly. You give really good hugs, you know that? Here's the translation. She's been thinking about it. That embrace didn't conclude when your arms dropped. It continued playing in her mind. She replayed it, analyzed how it felt, experienced it again mentally, and now she's informing you, without directly stating it, that the moment stayed with her. Most men respond with thanks or make a dismissive joke. They don't recognize what they're being offered. When a woman brings up physical contact you shared without any prompting, she's signaling that it registered as meaningful. She's testing whether you felt it too, whether it lingered in your awareness the way it lingered in hers. If you respond with warmth and acknowledgement, you're confirming what she's hoping, that the embrace lived in your memory the same way it lived in hers. That's not insignificant. That's an invitation to deeper connection. The fact that you're still watching this far into the video already separates you from most men. Lock in this knowledge by hitting that like button, then subscribe and turn on notifications so you keep getting insights like this that other guys will never stick around long enough to learn. You enter a room, her friends notice you. They might smile, wave, offer a greeting, the standard social responses. But then you observe her, and something's different. She's either doing significantly more than them or noticeably less. Either she's already moving toward you while they remain seated, or she's frozen in place, watching, waiting to see what you'll do first. Most men focus entirely on the woman they're interested in and ignore the comparative context. But the contrast is where the truth exists. Her friends represent the control group. They're showing you what a neutral reaction looks like. Whatever she does that deviates from that baseline. The extra enthusiasm, the held breath, the hug that initiates faster or extends longer than anyone else's. That's your data. She's not performing for you. She's unable to perform the same way they do. Her response differs because you represent something different to her. Once you recognize that gap between how her friends greet you and how she does, you'll understand exactly where you stand before she ever articulates a single word about it. Watch carefully what occurs in the seconds before she hugs you. She sets down her drink, places her phone on a nearby surface, shifts her bag off her shoulder, moves a chair out of the pathway. These actions appear practical, and they are, but they're also communicating something deeper. She's clearing the path. She doesn't want anything positioned between her body and yours. When a hug happens and a woman maintains hold of her phone, keeps her purse strap on her shoulder, or holds on to her coffee, she's embracing you within constraints. She's fitting you into whatever she was already doing. But a woman who actively removes every obstacle first, she's making the embrace the priority. She wants complete contact, nothing competing for her hands or attention. Most men don't notice what she puts down. They only register that suddenly she's in their arms. But those small acts of clearing space are her nonverbal way of telling you that this moment holds more importance than whatever she was holding. She's mid-thought, discussing something. Could be mundane, could be substantive, and then she stops. The sentence simply ends, and she moves toward you, arms extended, and suddenly you're embracing. When you separate, she doesn't complete the thought. It's abandoned, replaced by the hug and whatever follows. This isn't forgetfulness. This is overflow. The impulse to touch you became louder than the words she was forming. Her brain was running two parallel tracks, conversation and desire won. When a woman's sentence dissolves into an embrace, she's revealing where her attention genuinely lives. The words were surface level. You represent the depth. Most men would prompt her, "What were you saying?" But if you're genuinely paying attention, you don't need her to finish. The hug was the conclusion of that sentence, and it communicated more than whatever words she abandoned. You're in the hug. It's happening. And then she shifts, not to exit, but to adjust. Her arms relocate higher or lower. She turns her head slightly. Her grip changes. She's finding an improved position while remaining exactly where she is. Most guys interpret this as fidgeting. They think perhaps she's uncomfortable, or maybe the hug extended too long. But that's not what's occurring. A woman who repositions mid-embrace is attempting to extend it. She's solving a minor physical issue: arm placement, angle, comfort level. So she can justify staying longer. If she wanted out, she'd simply pull away. Repositioning represents the opposite. It's optimization. She's communicating, "This is good, but I want it to be better, and I'm not ready for it to conclude." Pay attention to those subtle shifts. They're not accidental. They're decisions. And every decision she makes to maintain closer proximity is a decision that reveals something meaningful. You encountered her at the beginning of the evening. There was a hug, warm, nice, perhaps brief. The standard greeting. Hours pass. You talk, laugh, exist in the same space, and now it's time to depart. She hugs you again, but this one carries a different quality. Slower, tighter. Her hands press in with more intention. She doesn't rush the release. The difference between those two embraces tells the story of your entire time together. The hello hug was anticipation. She didn't yet know how the interaction would unfold. The goodbye hug is her verdict. If the goodbye embrace carries more weight, more presence, more reluctance to separate, she's telling you that the time you spent together registered as meaningful. She arrived with hope. She's leaving with knowledge. Most men treat goodbye hugs as social formalities. They miss the fact that she's handing them a report card. If her goodbye hug has a distinctly different texture than her hello, she's not simply ending the evening. She's communicating that she wants there to be another one. It might be a soft exhale, a quiet hum that escapes without her permission, barely audible. Something you almost think you imagined. You didn't imagine it, and here's what's crucial. She doesn't make that sound with everyone. If you have the opportunity, observe her hug other people. Listen carefully. The comparison will reveal everything. That small vocalization is her nervous system responding specifically to you. It's involuntary pleasure. Her body is reacting to your closeness in a way she can't fully control, and the sound represents evidence leaking out. Most men hear these sounds and assign zero meaning to them. But if you're the only person who draws that exhale from her, that quiet vocalization of comfort or contentment, you're affecting her in a way that extends deeper than she's willing to admit. Those sounds are confessions. Learn to recognize them. Listen. Understanding what a hug genuinely communicates doesn't mean overanalyzing every single embrace. It simply means recognizing when physical closeness carries intention and understanding what that intention might be pointing toward. Because contact like this rarely exists in isolation. It's usually one signal among many. And once you identify one, the others become significantly harder to miss. Now that you know what her hugs are actually telling you, the next question becomes obvious. What else is she doing that reveals the same underlying truth? The subtle glances, the way she positions herself near you, the small behaviors she doesn't realize she's displaying. Make sure you're subscribed because the next video breaks down 30 signs that she already finds you attractive, and most of these fly completely under the radar for the average guy. I'll see you in the next one.